Welcome to The Foundry by Forge College. Okay, so let's talk about what happens after the big win. You just finished an absolute marathon of a build, right? You successfully integrated your AI MCP capstone, you got those custom servers hooked up, delivered the final project, and honestly, it feels incredible. But then reality sets in. Your application is live, traffic is starting to spike, and you're probably noticing a pretty heavy data load pulling on your systems. I mean, the application works, sure, but the performance? Yeah, it might be starting to sweat a little bit under the pressure.
And this brings us to the classic post-launch realization. You might be wondering, why are my APIs suddenly so slow? You successfully bridged the gap from that dev capstone to a real live environment, but scaling? Scaling is just an entirely different beast. Every single time a user requests data, your servers are out there working overtime, recalculating and fetching the exact same information over and over again. And this is exactly where caching enters the picture. Caching is basically the ultimate hero, designed to step in, save your response time percentiles, and keep your Solana APIs fast, resilient, and most importantly, cost-effective.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Why caching matters now. 2. 5 core caching strategies. 3. The refrigerator mental model. 4. Freshness and trade-offs. And 5. The cache integration workflow.
Let's jump right into section 1. Why caching matters now.
Look, caching isn't just some band-aid you slap on when things get slow, okay? It is a fundamental, system-level strategy. By definition, it's simply storing recent, or really expensive to compute, API responses close to the application layer. The entire goal here is to return answers faster without having to re-execute all that upstream work. When you're dealing with Solana-derived data, constantly hitting your RPC nodes for every single redundant read request, well, it's going to burn through your capacity and absolutely skyrocket your latency. So caching acts as a protective shield for your origin servers, dramatically reducing that load.
Moving on to section 2, 5 core caching strategies. Now that we know why we need it, let's look at the actual tools we have in our engineering toolbox to build it. In our broader Forge College courses, we dive super deep into the actual code for each of these. But today, we're just focusing on the architectural mindset you need to pick the right one. So here they are. We've got time to live, or TTL. We've got lazy loading, write through, write back, and explicit invalidation. You really shouldn't just pick one at random. Every single one of these represents a very delicate, deliberate balance between how fresh your data needs to be, how complex it is to write to the database, and how fast your read performance needs to be.
What's really interesting here is how clearly this maps out your trade-offs. Just look at this matrix for a second. If you have an endpoint serving, say, historical Solana transaction data, a long TTL is perfect. It's super low complexity, and honestly, who cares if it's a few seconds still? But if you're serving active trading balances, you absolutely cannot afford stale data there. You're going to need a write-through or explicit invalidation strategy. Yes, you trade higher complexity and higher write latency, but you do it for the absolute guarantee of high freshness. It's all about matching the strategy to the specific endpoint.
All right, section 3, the refrigerator mental model. To really solidify where these strategies actually live in your network, I want to share one of my absolute favorite analogies. Think about when you want a snack while you're coding. If you have a mini fridge sitting right next to your desk, that's your client cache, by the way. You can grab a drink instantly. Boom, zero latency. But what if you need a bulk frozen item? Well, you have to drive all the way across town to the massive warehouse. That warehouse is your origin server. Sure, it has everything you could ever need, but the round-trip time is agonizingly slow.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we should layer our network architecture. The client is your small mini-fridge for those repeated personal requests. Your edge cache or CDN, that's the kitchen fridge, great for fast, global reads for anyone in the house. Your reverse proxy is the pantry, protecting the origin from sudden bursts of hunger. And finally, your persistent origin database is the warehouse. The golden rule here? Keep the most frequently consumed data as close to the user as possible, and leave the heavy, rarely accessed data way back in the warehouse.
Which brings us to section 4, freshness and trade-offs.
Now, keeping things in the fridge brings up a totally new problem: spoilage. Out-of-date API data is exactly like leaving a glass of milk out on the kitchen counter. Leave it out too long and, well, it's going to ruin someone's day. We measure this concept using what we call the freshness window. This is defined as the maximum amount of time a cache entry is allowed to diverge from the actual origin state before it absolutely must be refreshed. If you have strict P99 service level agreements for something like a Solana wallet balance endpoint, your freshness window must approach 0. I mean, you literally cannot show a user they have funds that were actually spent a minute ago.
So, the really crucial point here is that ownership matters. You have to define exactly which service controls the definitive copy of your cache. If there's any ambiguity about who is updating or clearing the cache, you are going to get incredibly subtle, nightmare-inducing bugs. We're talking things like stale order books or completely out-of-sync smart contract states. You need crystal-clear invalidation contracts so the system knows exactly when to throw out the bad milk.
Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 5, the cache integration workflow. So how do we actually build all this without completely breaking our production apps? Well, we need a workflow to ensure our cache integration remains testable, observable, and, most importantly, reversible if things go wrong. Here is your 5-step engineering flowchart for safely integrating caching into Solana APIs. Define, instrument, implement, validate, and iterate. If you follow these 5 steps, you can introduce massive performance upgrades without breaking your existing functionality.
Let's look at the first 2 steps real quick. Before you write a single line of caching code, you must define and instrument. Classify your endpoints first. Is it read-heavy, write-heavy? Then instrument your baselines. Measure your current latency percentiles and your origin request rates. Because look, if you don't know exactly how slow your API is today, you literally won't be able to prove that your cache actually made it faster tomorrow. Next up, you implement and validate. The key here? Start small. Deploy a minimal viable cache for just a single endpoint, maybe using custom HTTP headers so you can easily track your hits and misses. Then, you absolutely must validate with chaos tests. In Web3, on-chain state changes constantly, right? So you have to simulate rapid state changes to ensure your invalidation path actually clears out the old data perfectly when it's under pressure.
Finally, step 5, iterate. You have to constantly review your trade-offs against the real performance signals you're getting. For instance, you might suddenly realize that a massive read volume on one endpoint demands a longer TTL at the edge, while another endpoint requires strict correctness and needs synchronous write-throughs. The major takeaway here is to let the data tell you how to adjust your dials.
And that brings us to our conclusion and key takeaways.
Let's bring all of these architectural pieces and our fun culinary analogies together into one final thought. If you remember only one thing from today's explainer, please make it this core philosophy. Move frequently used items closer to the user, but adjust the freshness window to match your correctness needs. At the end of the day, caching is and always will be a balancing act. It's a constant tug of war between achieving those incredible latency improvements and mitigating the very real risk of serving stale responses.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Are you ready to design your own cache hierarchy and storage integration? You've got the mental models, you've got the matrix, and you've got the workflow. Your next step is to actually map this onto your own architecture. To dive into the next module and to learn a whole lot more about this and other advanced Web3 subjects, be sure to visit forge.college. Keep building, keep optimizing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.